guess I've already told you about my condition.
Funny every time I see you.
You don't remember where you've been or what you've just done.
I can't make new memories. Everything just fades.
What's the last thing you do remember?
My wife,
That's sweet.
dying.
Okay, so what am I doing? Oh, I'm chasing this guy. No, he's chasing me.
What are some core memories that you have from your childhood? I know for some people, they remember playing catch with their dad. Other people, they have going to the store, going to the movies with their siblings. Now, all that is long-term memory. What about the short term? Do you remember where you were this morning? What you had for breakfast? What about what you did 5 minutes ago? What if you didn't remember that short-term memory? That's the premise of this film, Memento, by Christopher Nolan, the madman himself. Now, this movie covers so many themes, but the most prominent one that I see and we're going to be discussing today is the dangers of self-deception. Now, I know what you're thinking. This might not seem like it is a prominent theme in this film just based on the premise and the plot of the whole movie itself, but we're going to be diving deep into this today so that we can see exactly how this movie portrays self-deception as a very dangerous personality trait to have. And yeah, right away we'll get into how Christopher Nolan himself did amazing in this movie. It's known as one of his classics. The art of storytelling is such a huge foundational building block to this film. And Christopher Nolan takes a different approach to making films in the way he made this. Not that it had not been done before, but in this film, we see the use of non-chronological story be used very strategically. In interviews, we hear Christopher Nolan speak on his thought process behind using this timeline out of chronological order to make this film. He best described it as putting the viewer, putting the audience into the shoes of our main protagonist in the film, Leonard Shelby. But how could you possibly accomplish putting someone in the shoes of someone else that has short-term memory if you have no idea what that experience is like? Well, the closest thing that we can get to that is the way it's used in this movie, where anything in the future is told in color, anything in the past is told in black and white. And now, whenever we see events of the movie play out, you start by seeing a future event. And then right after that event, you see the previous event that led to that event. So it's kind of like coming backwards down the chain. Imagine the domino effect, but in reverse. And through this method of storytelling, we are put into the main character's shoes, Leonard's shoes. Because just like Leonard in the film, whatever event is currently playing out, we don't know how Leonard got there. And there is so much more to break down with these tactics of storytelling that Christopher Nolan employs in this film. But for now, we're going to go back to the self-deception part of this film. And if you like videos like this, if you're a movie geek like me, I have many other videos on this channel that cover similar topics, similar themes in other movies that I know you guys will like. So please be sure to check those out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and let's go into the self-deception and the dangers of it. Now, when I say self-deception, I really mean like when you're lying to yourself. You know, that's like putting a bandage on a broken leg. Your broken leg doesn't get fixed with a bandage, right? But it does make you feel better knowing, well, you did something, right? That's Leonard's life, because he lives on half-truths and sticky notes. He convinces himself that he's on a righteous mission for justice. But the truth is that he's rewriting his reality to avoid the pain of his past. And I mean, give him a break, right? It's human nature, isn't it? Nobody's perfect. We all mess up every now and then. I mean, yeah, that's true, but it's kind of like whenever you tell yourself, oh, I missed the gym today because I was too busy. Or, oh, I didn't call back because I forgot. You know those little lies? Those little lies, sometimes we feel like they protect us, but at the end of the day, they're trapping us. Because like in the film, Leonard doesn't want to face the truth about his wife or himself. So he creates a version of reality he can live with. But in doing so, he loses sight of what's real, and that's where it becomes dangerous for all of us. Like the example of missing the gym. You know, you keep putting that lie in front of it that you didn't go because you were busy, you didn't go because you were busy. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's a self-lie. I mean, I guess unless you don't see the gym as a positive thing, you wouldn't get my analogy. But my point is that for as long as you keep lying to yourself about not being able to go to the gym, as the example, well then you're only going to hurt yourself by not going to the gym. But that little lie that you told yourself, that self-deception, it made you feel better at the moment, but that trapped you. I mentioned a few minutes ago about Nolan's method to tell Memento backwards, and that's more than a gimmick, it's actually a warning, because memory itself is not a reliable narrator. Our minds are full of plot holes, and sometimes we fill them with whatever makes the story easier to handle. Leonard's tattoos are supposed to be facts, but even those facts get twisted. And in his case, those facts became twisted because he built those facts relying on his own memory, which I know for you and me, we don't have short-term memory loss, but in his case, more than anyone, is short-term memory non-reliable. Over the course of the movie, we see Leonard's journey in reverse, of course, but we see it go from finding his wife's murderer to eventually killing the man that murdered his wife. But it's such a surprise at the end that we find out that already happened. He already did kill his wife's murderer. But it's at that middle scene of the film where my point shines, actually. Believe it or not, my point is actually going to shine there. So let's get there. But really quick, we need to go back to where it all started. Or ended, I guess. When the film begins, we see Leonard murder somebody. And we find out that that is Teddy, or John G, as he thinks he is. Now, he's on the hunt for this John G because, as we find out later in the film, but I guess earlier in the chronological process, that John G is the last piece of information Leonard had about the person that raped and killed his wife. So we get to follow the story backwards of how he tracked down and killed this rapist and murderer of his wife. And throughout the film, we really get to see how easily Leonard gets taken advantage of by everyone around him. And this makes us really sympathize with the guy, you know? Left and right, he's getting taken advantage of by people he thinks he can trust. And as the movie progresses, we see the course of events that led to him killing Teddy. And we even believe that that could have been John G. But at the end of the film, or I guess at the beginning of the story, is when we really get to see the person that Leonard actually is. Because Leonard's journey doesn't end with justice, it ends with a choice, and a terrifying and deliberate choice. After realizing he's already killed the man responsible for his wife's death, Leonard does something unthinkable. He decides to lie to himself at that moment. He writes a false note, sets himself on a new mission, and deliberately condemns another man, Teddy, to die as John G. This moment is Leonard's descent into self-deception at its most destructive. He doesn't care about the truth anymore. He cares about keeping his story alive. The final scene is like watching someone throw away the key to their own freedom. Leonard isn't just a victim of his condition. He becomes the architect of his own perpetual nightmare. And it serves as a chilling reminder of how far we can go to avoid facing the truth. Leonard's lie isn't just a bandage, it's a dagger. By choosing to deceive himself, he ensures that his life will remain in a cycle of vengeance and emptiness, all in the name of a justice that no longer exists. And here's where it gets very important, because while Leonard's story is an extreme side of the spectrum, it's a reflection of something we all do every day. We tell ourselves small lies to make life easier, to protect our egos, to avoid pain. But as Memento warns us, those lies can grow. They can trap us in a cycle, just like Leonard's, where we're chasing shadows instead of facing reality. So what's the overall lesson here that I'm trying to get to? I guess in a way it's that the truth isn't always pretty, but it's the only foundation worth building on. The next time you're tempted to bend reality, whether it's avoiding responsibility, ignoring your flaws, or just clinging on to a convenient story, think of Leonard. And think, just how far will this lie go? And always remember that Jesus said he is the way, the truth, and the life. I had to insert that real quick, but you know what? This self-deception topic really reminds me of this other movie we covered on this channel, Catch Me If You Can, talking about the dangers of faking it till you make it. So if you like this video, you should check that one. Wait, what was I saying? I forgot.